What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. So this video was recommended to me. I watched about 5 seconds of it and then I thought, this might be a good one for all of you guys out there. So this is from Tony Marsh. Now, I have not done a react to Tony Marsh in a very, very long time. I think I must have done a react like over a year ago, and it's titled, I will teach you 3 languages in 10 minutes with one method, I'm guessing. One concept. Okay, cool. So, first up, I'm always a little bit cautious about cups, especially when they're in thumbnails. There's something suspicious about cups, bro. Like, I don't trust those fuckers. Anyway, we're gonna watch this video, but oh my god, he's up to 36k subs. Bro, every language YouTube channel is outgrowing me. What am I doing wrong? Sub to the channel.
I'm about to show you that it takes less than a minute to speak a language. And to prove the concept, not only are we going to speak one language, but we're going to speak 3 languages using the same method. The concept I'm using here is called 1, 2, 3 cups. I personally developed this method over 15 years teaching Spanish, Portuguese, and Arabic to clients such as the military, FBI, and NATO. But it works in any language, so you can easily convert this to French, German, Italian, or whatever language you're learning. So here's how it works. The first concept to understand is that verbs contain vocabulary. I'll say that one more time. Verbs contain vocabulary. So on the screen here, the verb cup that we have, or the verb container, is estoy aprendiendo, which means I'm learning. You can.
By the way, for those who are worried that I'm going to destroy my Dreaming Spanish series by watching this is obviously very basic.
And say that with me, estoy aprendiendo. That's Spanish for I'm learning. Now, the vocabulary that verb cup contains is Español, Portugués, Árabe, right? Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic. So to say I'm learning Spanish, you say estoy aprendiendo Español. I'm learning Portuguese, estoy aprendiendo Portugués. I'm learning Arabic, estoy aprendiendo Árabe. Now, the top row of cups are cup 1. They will always be a statement. In Portuguese, estou aprendendo Español. Estou aprendendo português, estou aprendendo árabe. And in Arabic, أتعلم إسباني, أتعلم برتغالي, أتعلم عربي. The second row of cups are cup 2.
I'm still not sure what the intention is here. So, because this just looks like you're studying 3 separate ways of conjugating a verb in 3 different languages. So, okay, let's see.
Yes, no question. So we take the same verb cup, but put it in the second person form of a question. ¿Estás aprendiendo? And now you can ask me, Tony, ¿estás aprendiendo español? ¿Estás aprendiendo portugués? ¿Estás aprendiendo árabe?
This actually seems really, really, really similar to what I spoke about in my chunking video with Anki the other day. Because essentially what he's doing is he's got one verb, and he's just swapping in the nouns, okay? And then, or you could call it a template, and he's swapping in the nouns, or he's swapping in and out the nouns. But then he does it for another language and then another language, okay? And then he just takes that verb and he flips it on his head and he turns it into a question. So again, you're practicing the template. And then I'm guessing he's going to do it for the 2 other languages. But I don't see how just doing it for 3 languages at once helps in any way. Or if he's just using 3 languages to show you that you can use this type of chunking concept across multiple languages, which is completely true. Like, you can use chunking for any language out there. Like, I've used it for Chinese, I've used it for Esperanto, I've used it... Well, I have not used it for Spanish yet, because obviously I'm doing the experiment.
Notice here that the point is not about memorizing these words. Everyone thinks language learning is about memorizing words, but it's not about memorizing. It's about freely being able to have a conversation in the language. So you can ask me any question you want. Just switch out the vocabulary. In Portuguese, it's Você está aprendendo espanhol, or Você está aprendendo português, or Você está aprendendo árabe. Notice that we're using the same vocabulary from cup 1 in cup 2. In Arabic, هل تتعلم عربي? هل تتعلم إسباني؟ هل تتعلم برتغالي? And that brings us to row 3.
Yeah, so this is just chunking essentially at this stage and then learning with templates. So obviously if you're learning with a template and you're swapping out the nouns, you see what effect the verb has on the noun, and your brain starts to understand, okay, so this portion of the words that I'm saying, this portion of the sounds I'm producing can be swapped out, but this other portion of the sounds must remain. Because obviously with different languages, like for example, Esperanto, mi ladnas la hispanan, like at the end of the la hispana, there's an N sound. That is the accusative. But if you practice that structure with multiple different languages, that N always remains. Your brain gets used to the fact, okay, whenever I start with mi ladnas, oh, okay, then I must finish with an N sound at the end. And I just slot in between what I want. So it's essentially just chunking.
3. Cup 3 is an open-ended question. Who, what, where, when, why, okay?
And it's chunking based around specific verbs using templates.
So why are you learning Spanish is ¿por qué estás aprendiendo español? Or ¿por qué estás aprendiendo portugués? Or ¿por qué estás aprendiendo árabe? Portuguese, ¿por qué você está aprendendo español? ¿Por qué você está aprendiendo portugués? And so on. And in Arabic, لماذا? لماذا تتعلم اسباني؟ لماذا تتعلم عربي؟ لماذا تتعلم برتغالي?
I'm kind of curious because this guy was a linguist who talked the military. How good is his like Spanish, Portuguese, and Arabic? Let me know down in the comment section. It's always good to know the other YouTubers, what their level are in different languages. That way when I'm referring to them, I've got an idea.
Now, to answer the open-ended question, you're going to go back to Cup 1 and say, oh, I'm learning such and such language because, okay, so I've got porque, lienani on the screen. That's because, and what that does.
See, okay, if we go open up my Anki deck, you can have a look back that I kind of made some cards that were similar. So he first introduced one verb with a swapping noun. Now he's moving into one verb swapping noun and then also a joiner to start joining on other bits, okay? So if you see here, I've been studying Chinese for a year, for 2 years, 3, 4, for roughly a year. So now we're not just introducing just a noun, but we're also introducing a secondary portion, which adds additional information. So first you practice with these ones right here, okay? So you practice with, I've been studying for a period of time. And you practice different periods of time, 1 year, 2 year, 4 years, whatever. Okay, you can, like he says you can do this by yourself, you know, with a partner or whatnot, or in a conversation, but like you can do it by yourself, where you just sit there and you're like, okay, swap out that noun, swap out that noun, swap out that noun, and your brain learns the structure. Once your brain's got like these first 4 down, like as in it knows you can swap out any time range within there, then you introduce the next bit. Okay, so roughly. So here, roughly, and a time frame. Okay, now you can extend that. Now, what he's doing there is you could say, I've been studying Chinese for roughly 4 years because. So you can keep building on that one sentence, slowly growing it out. And as your brain gets better and better with each one of these chunks, it gets better at joining them all together. Rather than trying to start with one complete thought, you start small, work your way out.
Does is it sets us up for another round of 1, 2, 3 cups, okay? So maybe the reason is I want to travel to Mexico or Colombia or Argentina or whatever country, and so you'll say quiero viajar a Mexico or quiero viajar a Colombia or quiero viajar a Argentina. So if you go back to the original cup, I'm learning Spanish, and then bridge that first cup with this new cup by saying because, I can say I'm learning Spanish because.
So he refers to these as cups. I refer to these as templates or patterns. And I'm sure there is other ways people have referred to these historically in the past. Essentially, it's just different ways of managing the chunks. So first, you've got your individual pieces that make up a sentence. We all learn the words, okay? Then you learn a grouping that can have a piece swapped out. Once you've learned that grouping and you can increase the size of it, then you can join multiple pieces together. So he calls these cups, these pieces he's adding together. I would call these separate templates that you're meshing together.
So I want to travel to Mexico, okay? Estoy aprendiendo español porque quiero viajar a México. Estoy aprendiendo portugués porque quiero viajar pro Brasil, or maybe Portugal or Angola. And أتعلم عربي لأنني أريد أن أسافر إلى المغرب. Right, Morocco, Lebanon, Egypt. Now that we have this new statement, we can easily convert it to cup 2, the yes-no question. Oh, do you want to travel?
Yeah, so he practices swapping everything from statement to question, which is actually a good idea.
To Colombia, ¿quieres viajar a Colombia? Or ¿quieres viajar a Argentina? We're still maintaining that completely free conversation. You can ask me whatever you want. Portuguese, você quer viajar para o Brasil? Or você quer viajar para Portugal, para Angola? Do you want to travel to Egypt? هل تريد أن تسافر إلى مصر? And of course, cup 3, the open-ended question, why do you want to travel to Mexico?
You could take us way beyond. You could basically answer a who, what, where, when, how, why scenario with this, and then a true, false. which is what I've done in the past. Additionally, okay, you might be thinking, and people ask me what this specifically in my chunking videos, they're like, okay, but what sentences? There's so many templates I need to practice so that I don't know. A good way of knowing that is to go do a lesson with someone or just have a conversation with someone in your language, record the whole thing. And at every point where you struggle, so go back later on after you've recorded it, watch it through. Every point where you struggle and you make mistakes or it takes you a while to put together the structure, that is a chunk you need to work on. Okay, and people call those islands. I know Mikkel on his channel, he calls these islands based around, his life. But essentially, you're building out the ones that you're going to be most likely to say. Because if you say it to one person, in one scenario, you're most likely to say that exact same type of thing again with another person in the same scenario. Like, we all have our way of speaking and our thought processes. And once you know how to say those in your target language, it just makes things so much easier. And you can keep refining it. So you get the big ones, okay, the big problems. Like I showed you there, one of the big ones for me was talking about have been studying for a long time. I knew how to say it. I knew the grammar behind it, but every time I'd go to say it, I'd be like, because the grammar does not match up to English at all, okay? So I needed to practice it as a complete chunk. And by doing that, now I can easily say, I've been studying for 5 years. 我学中文5年了, because I've practiced that enough times now. And your brain, the more you feed it these chunks and show it the patterns, you're literally creating comprehensible input for yourself. The more better you get at it. And it's not just listening. You should both listen and produce, which is what he's talking about here. You're producing. But I don't think he's talking about listening. That's also a very big portion as well.
Por que quieres viajar a México? Por que você quer viajar para o Brasil? لماذا تريد أن تسافر إلى المغرب? Now, the answer to that open-ended question, why do you want to travel to such and such place, sets us up for another round of 1, 2, 3. I want to travel to Mexico because I like Mexican food, for example. So imagine you collected all of the cup 3s that you had, all of the open-ended questions, and put those in a list, in a notebook. Those are what I call OPI questions, oral proficiency interview. Basically, you have to be able to answer those questions. Now, you could practice solo. You could just have that list of questions in your notebook and practice answering them. How would you answer them? Well, of course, you would go back to cup 1 and
this is a very easy thing to practice by yourself, but if you can do it with other people, that obviously is better. The way you would practice it with yourself is you just ask yourself, you just pick a scenario. Okay, like my scenario is, what is your plan today? And then I'd say, my plan today is to make a video. Do I know how to say that? Okay. It might take me a while to figure out how to say that. Okay. And then if it does if it does not come out instantaneously, that is an island, a template, whatever you want to call it, something for you to work on. And then once you've figured out that, my plan is to make a video, then a follow-up question might be, why do you make videos? Or how do you make videos? Or where do you upload videos? So you just keep expanding out the tree. Oh, and by the way, some of you might be thinking, this sounds like it's going to be great for basically creating a dialogue tree. But then what happens if you step outside the dialogue tree in real life? Well, funnily enough, the more you practice certain structures within a dialogue type of scenario, the more they kind of cross-pollinate to situations you've never been in before. So the example that I showed you in my Anki and the one I gave you is I've been studying Chinese for 5 years, Jesus almost croaked like a fucking frog then. 我学中文5年了. Okay, so I've been studying Chinese for 5 years. But then there's going to be other situations where that same structure just might naturally come up in a scenario because I have been doing this for a period of time. So I could be saying, let me think of an adjacent one. I have been eating for 5 minutes, 我吃饭吃5分钟了. So there you go. It's the same type of structure. Slight little variation in the middle there, but same type of structure.
You can go as far as drawing these cups in your notebook, and in fact, that's the exact method I use in my video courses, Spanish, Portuguese, and Arabic, 20-day notebook-only video courses. And as you can see, instead of trying to study grammar and memorize vocabulary, what you're doing is just mixing and matching verb and vocabulary to have a conversation. Think about how much conversation we just generated here in a few minutes. And imagine if you kept that up for a few more hours.
Yep, so I completely agree with everything he's saying in this video. He just names it differently to myself, and obviously I name it differently to other people. But essentially, it's the concept of You just need to slowly build out pieces that work together, and then you can slot them all together. You build like you got one piece of Lego, which is your word. You join that together with a couple of other pieces, and then you got your different like little Legos, and you build out a house, and then you join the houses to create buildings, and you join the buildings to create an entire city. It's kind of that concept, just he uses cups, I use templates. Great video. Completely agree with him. Here's his channel. Go sub to him. Not that he needs it from me, but I will see you all in the next video. And if there's any videos you want me to check out, drop them down in the comment section below. And if you're not there, I will find you, and me and you are going to do something with cups together.